Chile here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Moon Hour Saturn Day, and the midheaven is 0 degrees Scorpio, Ascendant 12 degrees Capricorn, Moon 17 degrees Gemini in the 6th house, and Mars 13 degrees Scorpio. So this is going to be an energy reading, and I particularly ask you to take it with a grain of salt because Pluto is about to turn direct. So we'll probably have more information by the time that Pluto is direct, which is a couple of days. By next week, I think it's going to be more apparent. So from this point in time, what I see is that, first of all, let me talk a little bit about the structure of targeting individuals or targeting individuals to be sacrificed or whatnot. Basically, there are certain structures, whether it's family that people take oaths or somehow the police pays people. And it can be, I don't know, somebody stole something and the police catches them and say, you know what, come work for us. And or people that are born in certain cults and they need to do treason. So that's basically how it runs in their cults. Now, to do that, they need to create personal motives of people to commit treason on people. And many of you, the collective, have this quality to you that you just go by what is the truth from the perspective you see it, and because you've been exposed to things that are of either supernatural or hidden technology or whatnot, then you just don't take for granted what's at face value. And here's the thing. What I'm getting at is either somebody was supposed to commit treason and that didn't quite work, and they developed complicated feelings, or for some of them, somebody told them no, and they developed all kinds of complexes around that, or the ego was involved with that. Sun 18 degrees, so it might be some toxic ego that was involved. And what happened is that person further entangled themselves, because whether they were used or whatnot, anybody that was associated with either this cold case or targeting an individual that looked into this cold case and saw something to do with sexual sovereignty. So, of course, other than, myself, probably if it resonates, so you, the collective, you may have looked into a cold case, even murder case, assassination case. And with Lilith here, you may have been the one that immediately saw, wait, something here reminds me of something that happened to people that run from trafficking or from violent relationship, something to do with sexual sovereignty. Now, for you, the collective, you may have not seen the full picture. And that may have caused people that have an emotional charge to be both for and against. And what I'm getting is that somebody in the background, let's say you escaped, okay? Let's say a story a little bit like mine. You escaped something that thought was a good friendship, or for some people a good relationship, that turned sour, and when it turned sour, you already had a scientific framework to see something happen to the nervous system of that person. Okay? So you didn't even blame it on the person. You just say, okay, they were hurting. I gave all the things I could give to align the nervous system. That was not working, and I had to flee. And from that point on, you, the collective, were continuing on, and you could be even occultist, but not nefarious occultist, or you can be scientist, but not nefarious scientist, or you did something in your work, or a casual person, but just that you're aware of those things that you might not even know exactly how to explain, that are weird. And you're a person that goes by, you know, always being more authentic with themselves, always. And there was a thing that was like a crisis point. And um, because of your journey, you have accumulated information, but also you tended to, because let's say a person, let's say, for example, in astrology, let's say you had, I don't know, had Uranus opposing my 22 Mars. Okay? Then what I did was water expands upon cooling the astrology of true crime, and particularly cold cases, because I tended to the planet. Or let's say I have a Saturn ruling over 12th house and 11th house. So I give nervous system supporting minerals and probiotics, okay, to people that are homeless. Okay, if I don't have, let's say, money to give to person, then I say, okay, I give something that is of my 12th house to balance the person's nervous system. Even and nobody would probably, they would probably buy cigarettes, or they would buy, I don't know, alcohol, or they would buy a sandwich, or they would not think of remineralizing their bodies. So and so for you, the collective, you're just like that. And what happened is that because you are like that, you will always tend to the things, and then you will always accumulate wealth, whether it's wealth of knowledge or wealth of benefic type of trajectory for you, but also wealth of people that are afraid of what you're doing. Okay? And so that person that became personal for them, or they had something personal maybe to work through with themselves, and they did not stop targeting you when you were gone. Either that, or they went into this psychic, okay, like something along the line that it got very like the trajectory of how much they targeted you got way too enmeshed with what they did. And so what happened is that let's say they thought they're going to be in that trajectory. Now, for you, the collective, you may have seen the trajectory that those that told them to target you will ask them to go through. And you kind of seen the future for what's going to be the implication if that person does that. And depending on the situation, you may have tried to stop that, or you may have set the boundary, or you may have just understood that between you and yourself. But that person got entangled. And as they were getting entangled, instead of untangling, what they actually had, and when I'm getting, the person actually had the skill of untangling. I'm getting, like, these necklaces where they get really, really tangled up. And that would be the person that could, I've seen like a person that could disentangle those bonds, connections, trajectories. Okay? Now, even they may have done a ritual, and by the way, this is particular ritual is not bad if they did it. They may have done a ritual to untangle something, and they may even took a necklace that was really tangled up, and they would disentangle. And this is actually good ritual, except that it can be that somebody tried to interfere with that ritual, and do the inversion of what they were doing. And that further caused complications. But I'm seeing that this is a person that has the skill to disentangle, and for you, the collective, you have the skill to disentangle really tangled up things. So that was what connecting you, both of you, because both of you in one trajectory or another. For example, when I worked in a small time, when I worked in cleaning, and I was terrible, I'm a terrible cleaner. Okay? But when it would come to those stains that nobody could get rid of, somehow I would get the right information how to untangle them. For example, I worked for doggy sitting, and lady said if I can clean the floor. So I turned behind the couch, and she wanted economics, and I said no, it's bad for the breathing. I took baking soda and I took lemon or vinegar, and there was a 10-year-old stain behind that she didn't get out even with economics. So this, what is this thing that people use to clean the house, and it's harming for the breath. So I took in 1 second some baking soda, some vinegar, that stain was off. That lady later moved to another place, married her boyfriend. Her boyfriend proposed to her, and also she didn't know. She no longer hired me because she suddenly told me that she thought I was going to be the manager of the place when she's gone, with everything that that entails. And I saw in it just to walk the dogs or to be there to relax and not have any managerial position. So everything got disentangled. It ended up well because we understood each other, and it was the first time she was taking employee. But this was how something that was 10 years old stained, and then this trajectory of clearing that and what that created. Also, for me, I was kind of stuck, kind of stagnant in that workplace. It was not paying much, and for me, I just wanted to rest until I decide what I do with my life. Um, and it was funny because when people have a pension for many dogs, they say, "Oh, they publish Doggy Sitter," then they show you the entire thing. Now I said, "No problem, I like dogs," but they think that you will run the place. And so, yes, it was a little bit of learning, okay, how to communicate and so on. Um, but that was only for the best for both of us. And and so with you, it seemed like what connected you with that person is that you do naturally, inherently have the skill. Now, because both of you have that skill, they tried to use both of you to create stagnation, not to disentangle stagnation. And that person got entangled with the stagnation inside their soul because for you, the collective, um, you were disentangling something almost mystical, psychological. That person was entangled in things that they would try to create, or the society that they were part of would try to create control, create stagnation. Although it's not aligning with all of the parts of their nature. And that's also what kept you in connection with that person. Because they had the part that really wanted, craved control, and they had the part that disentangles. And the part that craved control went with those secret societies, whereas for you, you disentangled the stagnation around the secret societies, even the mafia. Now, what I'm getting is that that person basically felt they lost their power over you. They were also afraid of your power, but you never thought to abuse power. And they already got entangled to do certain things, and maybe in the beginning it was unconscious, but later they literally consciously did things to take from your life energy. Now it can be more than one person, but what I'm getting that this is the main issue has to do with a young person because they had been emotionally entangled, but they can also be an older person that got emotionally entangled because they were supposed to target you, and you went, and somehow these two kind of exposed each other, because this is how it works, by the way. Okay, they expose each other. It's a treason cult. So and it's intricate because the basically some people grew in a situation where they had to betray, so there are a lot of entangled emotions around that. And so what I'm getting is that you either grew outside of that society or grew outside of that society, okay? And and so what came about is that um, the person that got entangled in something that they may not even have considered that big, or they were really building on kind of being either your partner and enslaving you at the same time, or because they came from traditions where that was the case, and so I don't know. But the thing is that what happened is that they got themselves entangled with all of the things that you disentangle from. So think about, and so what I'm, and so think about that when it's kind of like it was supposed to be for them like a minor offense, something they would get away with. And because you went on the journey of untangling the root cause of that, then they were hoping that you will entangle yourself. And what happened is the more they were hoping to do that, the more you went to the root cause of something and disentangled. And this is exactly how they became a part of what you're disentangling from. But it's not just that you are disentangling, it's that the world is disentangling. Has a lot to do with Saturn ruling over Pluto, applying to conjoin Neptune. Because they were really hoping at a certain time, maybe not in the beginning, but they were really hoping that you would be under their power and or under their control. And you the type, even to the point where they thought even to, for some people to have like a topping from the bottom, that they would get you to be dominant over them and they would control you from, but you, because you're the collective. And to be very honest, it can be that even on a kink level, you're not particularly kinky as people may think that you are. So they didn't get to play this power play with you that is not consensual, because it's not like they said, I want this, I want that, and so it's not safe and consensual. but they didn't get to play this power game with you, not from the top and not from the bottom, because you just disentangled from the entire power exchange. Any power exchange is not that is not people standing in the power. You began to disentangle more and more and more and more and more. So let's say if that person thought that you would be, now here's the thing, they may have thought something about you, that they may have also thought that they were causing you to do things, and they may have misinterpreted what was their mind control and what was your sovereignty. And this is because this person, it can be a younger person or person that didn't know you and then knew a part of you and misinterpreted that completely. Because what is happening for you, the collective, let's say somebody expects you to be in a certain situation and to make certain choice, you go completely different trajectory. And it's sudden. Many of you have Uranus in Sagittarius, because Uranus is a sudden, unexpected choice. And the people that were building on you having a particular response, a particular choice, they are in themselves entangled, not really able to predict what will you choose at a certain time. Because a part of how these societies go through is by manipulating and engineering the situation and then putting it like it was somebody's choice. Now, the generation that have Uranus in Jupiter signs, either Pisces or Sagittarius, they go in a weird way about that. And lo and behold, you are onto something. Okay, think about it. I remember the time all of my colleagues began to talk Catholic because they began to be afraid. And I was just like, wait a second. There's something coming up here that is a different trajectory. And I was sticking with the truth. Also, kind of like not really knowing what will be. And then they exposed the Vatican. They exposed, okay, all of these things that people relied upon happening were happening in an unexpected way. People thought everybody would get religious with the spiritual warfare, but it did the opposite. And now that people that gained the capital on making themselves quasi-religion, and again, they were afraid. It's not that they begin to face the fact that that capital was that have to surrender the results about that capital. So here is, you see how I show this trajectory where, even by chance, not intending to, you would have just different choices. And there would be something unexpected and sudden. And what happened is that somebody got themselves so entangled in situations that, based on the person being able to predict what the person, being able to play chess, not checkers. But the thing is, you are neither the black nor the white of the checks, not checkers, nor the hand that moves the, okay? You're just not in that game. But the thing is that people would bring the chess board to your place, and you will create Lego out of it. Okay? And, and then a lot of people thought, well, they get the best tools. Why don't they use these tools? Because they use it differently. Because there is something that they release from the core of the issue. And you, collective, are the ones that you liberate from some sort of something that people did not predict that even needed liberation from. People were either Machiavellian, and they say, hey, we give you the best power tools to do the Machiavellian game. And then you say, okay, but the best thing to do would be to purge the need to be Machiavellian. Or to give you the remote control to the prison cell experiment. And you say, okay, the best thing to do would be to change entirely the conditions so people will not be in that prison cell to begin with, so that they will not harm each other. and that person that began to really entangle themselves, either they're going through a transmutation crisis, and this is why I say to take with a grain of salt, because Pluto has not finished his retrogression, which means that people haven't finished learning what is their power that they can stand in and what is power abuse. Or what were the implications of if somebody abused power? What was the implication of that power abuse? For example, when I did satire, I did symbol that was from the symbol of officers. And I did a satire about the way they trained the officers. Why? Because I was told that the person that was harming me was officer, and they said bitchonist, which means I thought security. Security is like the people that check. I don't know what. I did not know. So now this is the thing. Yes, from my perspective, and I will not go in length into that, I did not go to the army. There was a topic of sexual harassment, and basically what my parent was afraid of is that I will have a gun. Because there would not be commander. It is because why? Because sexual boundary violation is violation of the will to live, and if somebody tries to take my will to live, they die. And this is, in fact, it is illegal order to not shoot a person that tries to do sexual boundary violation, even if they are commander. So my mother knew that something in me, even if I didn't know how to phrase that, she knew that I know that. She knew that I'm the kind of person that gets angry at the right thing, at the right time, at the right amount. I did not know that. So she made sure I don't go to army. And for me, I was just helpless. I did not know how will I get along. I'm the type of person, if I don't sleep enough, I begin to say, okay, how many people need to die so that we have good night's sleep? Because without good night's sleep, nervous system is not balanced, and this is basically method of torture. And so everybody that supports torture basically is better for them to die, because hurt people, and that's how I know to arrange things. Who needs to die most effectively without suffering? So the point was that I did not know that the symbol that I made the satire of was the symbol of the IDF. But not only because it is an occultistic, and I have no idea what occultistic meanings are. Today I woke up, I saw the symbol of the IDF, and somebody was like, she did a satire over that symbol. So, not knowing, because I don't, I don't see it every day. And then when I began to look for the symbols of the soldiers, what they have on the shoulders, I was, I was saying it's all occultistic symbol, all occult symbols. Some of it's dark occult rituals, and and so all occultistic symbols are symbols that most of them can have good meaning, but if people work with them not in a nefarious way, then it's not good meaning anymore. And for you, the collective, you probably resonate with the even the way in which I speak more so than others because in one way or another you are like that. Now, that person that maybe they even thought, maybe they were not thinking, maybe they even thought to throw you, kind of throw you uh, into whatever, and they were not, first of all, they were not really aware that you disentangled things. And those that are trying to put you in the way of harm, okay, Light had a lot of channelings about that. Light from YouTube. Okay? And those who try to put you in the way of harm, you would be the type of person that's like throwing a pebble into the water. Whatever happens with you is like a pebble that sends ripples. Now people try to control that because they wanted to control who is throwing the pebble, where's the pebble thrown, and so on and so forth. But it got about in a roundabout way. And that person, and here's the thing, some of you may even have this additional factor where it's not by intention, because for you, you would pay attention, something is weird, and then you would say, okay, you know already this quality about you, that things tend to expose themselves and disentangle around you. And also you may even feel a bit helpless to change. Let's say you're at you rent an apartment, let's say, or you live with a roommate, okay? You see certain things weird, but you say, okay, I will just align the things within me, and then everything around me will explode or transmute, which is exactly what happened. And because I said, what can I do? Well, I'll try to do but the best to align things within me and see what happens. And so the many forces that try to keep you from doing you had to go through this crisis. Now, when it's people that their ego was not so tied to that, they just had to go short on harming you. Even if it was like their life dependent on that, is not a problem, because they can simply point the aggression to the ones that send them, and they will gain prosperity. But the people that had, that made it an ego thing, or that had emotionally entangled with trying to cause you harm, those were people that tried to take all of their frustrations of not being able to abuse you on you. And what I see is that either it's a big crisis of transmutation where some, or that they understand, and this is the thing about you, the collective, some of them thought they can get away with that, and particularly thought they can get away with that for long. It's also something that happens on a mundane level. Because certain things have certain trajectories, people believe that they can go it can also be, people thought that they could play it like the stocks, that they can go short on the thing before the bubble pops. But if they were trying to consciously be manipulative in that way, they might find out that to disentangle from what they did to you is not as simple as they thought that it would be. Oh, look at this, Saturn and Venus almost on the minute opposing. Because here's the thing, for many of you, this is person that if you ever knew them in person, you walked out. And for some of you, it can be that the person says bye-bye and you walked out. Now, there is even a trajectory, and there's a big juxtaposition with this Saturn that's happening in the sky. And this is where it can be that one person may not have been aware, or that they saw, either they knew about you, the collective, doing something that, megalithic, and and it got to places that you, because you were so helpless, you didn't even think anybody, and it got to places that you might not even begin to appreciate. And this is being meta because I'm a part on that trajectory with you, the collective. So and so there will be people that would either pay attention to that, or that they were invested in something that you were beginning to expose without knowing even. In any way, there is a big juxtaposition in the sky where many people try to do a lot of maneuvering in spirit and in matter to try to control, to both create that juxtaposition. And here is the thing, as much, I don't, most of psychiatric medicine is silencing people medicine. Yes, today I believe so, after I've seen a lot of what the side effects and this and that. But there's the thing about, if person takes, let's say, medicine for psychiatry, they say if you need to come off the medicine, you need to remember how gradually you increase the medicine, because you come off the medicine gradually. Now, I kind of feel like as much trajectory was there's a grand juxtaposition in the sky right now, and it might involve even you, the collective, and some prominent figure, but also you, the collective, kind of became prominent figure. And so this big megalithic juxtaposition, and oh my God, this is such a eureka. Oh my God. Oh my God. Peter Ort is all I have to say. Anyway, and it's going to really apply to Peter Ort case. And this is why Peter R. de Vries is dead for since 21 with 25 and still keeps coming up. Now I got it. Okay. There when how whether it's social engineering or whatnot, when people engineer something as many years and sometimes it's decades as they dedicate to create a situation, as many years as it takes to disentangle from that creation. Now, for you, the collective, and this is including me, I'm a part of that collective, okay? So you notice the tip of the iceberg and it is unraveling. For example, when everybody was talking about narcissistic abuse, I said naively, I said, why it looks like all these people they call narcissists are all acting exactly the same. It's almost like they're made in Ford, in the Ford factory, knowing nothing about the cloning. I think it's not going to be decolonization, it's going to be declonization. How many, there was a case, I attended to one political assassination case, and there was the White March, and I said, something was coming up in me, and I said, it would both have to be, there was this musical vibe going on, so I said, that's that 1996, and I had no idea. Because I was alluding to the White March. I did not know of any other thing that happened. And that person was involved in ritual abuse of someone. That person was also ritually abused. He was involved in ritual abuse of someone. And now it's out there. It's, yes, it's the case of Lars. Um, Lars Roman is the survivor. And yes, I believe that Lars will begin to remember more things, and more things will unravel. But that was at the time where that case was exposed. They talk about the girls, and something happened in Paris. At that time, Lars was 8 years old. Um, and so, but as much, and the person that was in that scene, the person that violated, was Geertje Wilders, and they both were from Venlo. And so I don't know how much was behind the creation of that situation, but it's one of those things. And but there are other big juxtapositions in the sky, and what I feel is the amount of time it takes to create a scene, okay, to orchestrate a scene, that people work on storylines and narratives for decades. It takes the same amount of time to unravel. So for what I get for you, the collective, is that there's certain juxtaposition. Now somebody got themselves entangled with putting you in a way of harm, and they worked for quite some years, and maybe they did not even know that they were part of a bigger trajectory. And they were, yes, I talk about the structure of the extortion cults and the wealth consolidation and so on and so forth. Yes, it was just this thing that came out, and I'm like, whoa, that was, yes. But I was just thinking, I was saying, that's that 1996, that's the night, and I did not know about that. Later, Lars said something 96 or 97, but I did not connect the dots. and he's a bit younger than me, so also the Rolodex witnesses, the boys of the Helsinki committee, they are about my age. So, and yeah. And so, you see, truth is coming, unraveling. But this is where, um, as much as it took to create a certain situation, and for you, the collective, if somebody was part of consciously putting you in way of harm, then as many years as they worked on that, as much as it would take them to untangle from what they did to you. Now, here is the thing that even for me, there are a lot of things that some of them, there are even evidence that people saw, that the energy readers, that they can see that. But I don't talk about each and every particular thing, okay? Because I deal with the structure. That's how I got to do a Satyr on the IDF symbol, not knowing that it's the IDF symbol. I just thought it was an officer. I could never be an officer. um, yeah. And so, um, and this is the issue, that for the people that unconsciously, that like channelers and so on, that's like, I would say something, for example, why does it look like all the narcissists are made up in a Ford factory, not knowing about the clones? Or that's that 1996, not really knowing what's coming. In retrospect, and mind you, I attended to political assassination prevention. And by the way, I talked about housing first, and the fact that when people are not tortured by psychiatry, then they don't get to assassin. And then, I get it. So, um, so here's the thing, that those that were consciously involved in creating harm for you, the collective, what is going to happen? Is Venus opposite Saturn as we speak, and Mercury 6 degrees Scorpio, separating from the square to Pluto. You know, Mars is on my Saturn. No, a degree away from my Saturn. Um, anyway, yeah, I think we are, by the way. We are deep into Saturn hour. Look at this midheaven, as I talked about Mars. A lot of fortune ascendant. It was Mars's name, and midheaven was on them. Also, the fact that they did crucifixion of people. So this is the thing. Somebody that was thinking to crucify you, the collective. Um, let's just say that was not a good idea. Or to sacrifice you, the collective, that was not a good idea. So this is also where, as much as it took, and this is the thing, somebody may have even tried to go short on, okay, they tried to say, maybe now they thought, oh, I can do that and that and that, and just before the 9/11s, I will be like those intelligence workers that went out of the building. But what they didn't understand is that that's not how it works. The energy, okay, the much energy they invested in a trajectory of putting you, the collective, in a way of harm, they thought they would just go short on it and get away with it. But what they didn't see coming is that it takes as much years to untangle from what they did to you. Which means that for you, the collective, as you, let's say, you ran away from trafficking place and you wanted to have your own absolutely legit business. In fact, the reason they tried to traffic you, you were not cooperating with their crimes. And all of the things that you're supposed to be, let's say, due diligence. Now, all of the documents are there. You already informed authorities this is the problem, and it's not safe for you to go there, and it's not safe to even send a third party. Now, bureaucratically, if they want you to do due diligence, then they have to do due diligence of aborting those trafficking rings that money launder and maybe go to secret classified projects of targeting individuals and depriving them of their rights to, let's say, run a business. Now, for you, the collective, it may be the case that you don't even have a due diligence because you didn't even make money. Okay? So, but those that, and also you did not close your business. And here is the thing, they say, if a person goes missing, all they have to do is set up a tent in the woods, because immediately the collectors of the government taxation, property tax, will come to find them. Now, the person that was putting you in way of harm, they may have had one scenario in mind. They were not imagining. First of all, they might not even know what would be asked of them to do. Secondly, they invested so much, they did not know, they thought they can go short on it. But they got entangled. And what they got entangled is not your energy, but their own wrongdoings. As much as it took them to tangle themselves, and it took some time because they were going on the long run. As much as it took to them, this is as much as it would take to disentangle. For example, during COVID, when I went the fuck away from what I now know is satanic ritual abuse, I remember I was in shelter, and there was this lady that was trying to help me, and then I tell her about these things, and I say, this person, they're about 28. This was their Saturn maturation. And by the way, when I find out, I think their Saturn return, it was the Saturn return. Now I think it's Saturn maturation. Yes, born 92, we are 25, so it's 33. They're rounding about to their Saturn maturation. And by the way, it was my Saturn maturation. So I saw this as, okay, this is my Saturn maturation. I see the certain things, the certain karmas, the certain trajectories. I need bigger house and so on and so forth. Yes, I also need an establishment before I go about and run a business and so on, before I pay taxes. Let's see where these taxes are going. Now, I did not think about, because I received funding to study and so on, I did not think, where are my taxes? Where am I this? Because for me, I was like, I'm a recipient, and now all I wanted was to have business to contribute, to make a contribution, and to run business, so to rehabilitate myself. I went to study, then certification of aromatherapist, and then there was COVID. It was a military operation. So I talked about the clash of civilizations, and so this is where um, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, what they did is so terrible. This is their Saturn return. They abused someone on their Saturn return. Oh my God, I really hope that they will come back to their senses quickly, because it's a 28 years cycle. They have 7 years, they have 14 years, they have another. It's a Yes, they have a 21 years, and then they have a 28 years. Because I was thinking media astrologer, and that person was that almost died. But I said something came up to the way that there was something that looked like a psychic attack and so on. And I said, I really hope they come to their senses, because they abused me. They basically tried to blackmail me. And I also addressed that on the implications, because the implications were that they were forcing me to um, basically being entangled in certain situation with them, that and I did not even see them as the problem, because I look at structure. Now, whatever was happening, the disentanglement is so that I was there in a shelter, okay, basically trying to live, survive every day, and all I thought about was, oh my God, this person abused somebody for their Saturn return. That's not good. And I was feeling sorry for them, because I said, oh my God, what they did to themselves. Now with Saturn maturation, so it's actually a good thing that they have a trajectory where they can begin to disentangle. But the disentangling, yes, it would take as much time as it took to build up the entanglement. Now, aside of that, there's a great juxtaposition in the sky to the megalithic size, to the megalithic dimensions of Petertje Oort. And Petertje Oort was a case where there was a crime journalist, Peter R. de Vries, that his name was Peter and the boy's name was Peter. And we will probably find out more information about this as well. Petertje Oort was kidnapped in an orange car, and was taken through streets in a Dutch village, okay? Street JFK, which was associated with Peter R. de Vries, and Street Churchill. This was when Peter himself, I think before his Saturn return even, was one of the first cases he looked at. Why? Because he looked at putting in jail the wrong person for an offense. And again, all the people that are like big media, elite, and so on, I'm aware of all the complications, and yes, they're going to be probably what needs to be untangled will be untangled, and that's and basically for around 40 years that case left unresolved, and Petertje Oort had a brother. His brother, people accused his brother. His brother was a teenager, committed suicide. And this is where there was the book A Murder Costs More Life. yes, of course, is talking about also rape, which is murder of the soul. It's basically attempt to murder the soul and to take a life energy